Hey everybody, this is Chewy Plays Nintendo, and today I'm going to be making predictions for Animal Crossing in 2020. I think this is the year of Animal Crossing, so we should have some pretty special things going on, and I would say that my predictions here are going to be more like wish list items and things that I'd love to see happen. I doubt any of them are going to come true, but there might be a little bit of accuracy here, but I don't think so. These are just more wish list items, but I'm going to treat them as predictions. So without further ado, let's get started on these predictions. So the year, of course, is going to start in January, so I think there is actually going to be some news in January. And my first prediction is that there will be a January 15th Nintendo Direct with Animal Crossing news. This is going to open up with a character that we have yet to see in this game. It's going to open with Isabelle, and it's going to show off her new role in New Horizons. It's also going to show some other special characters and kind of start introducing a lot more of the cast into the game, because thus far, the only special character we've seen is Tom Nook and of course Timmy and Tommy. So I think we're going to see characters that they've already mentioned before, your Isabelles, Rossettis, KK Sliders, a lot of characters that are pretty much staples of the series at this point, and we don't really know how they're going to be implemented into this new game. The other thing I think this Direct is going to show is some beautiful winter scenes along with some seasonal crafts. So I have a very strong inkling that we're going to be seeing a lot of seasonal types of things that we'll be able to craft. And because this game is going to get showed off again in the winter, January, I think they're going to show that off by showing us some really cool kind of winter themed items that we're going to be able to make. So, and kind of also show off some winter things that we're going to be able to collect and use as crafting materials. So I think they're going to use this to kind of expand on that idea and show us that throughout the year we're going to have more to do. Finally, I think the next thing that's going to be shown is an Animal Crossing themed Switch and Switch Lite. So these new designs are going to be, of course, Animal Crossing themed, but the reason I think they're going to be both is because Animal Crossing has always performed really well on handheld, so it makes sense to do a Switch Lite version. But there is one feature that is very new, and I guess it implements a regular Switch idea very well because of the Joy-Con, and that is the multiplayer that allows us to play on one console. So it would make sense to have an Animal Crossing themed Switch with Animal Crossing Joy-Con to kind of capture that multiplayer aspect. So that's the one thing I think they're going to close with on this January Direct, outside of also telling us that there will be a February Direct that will cover more Animal Crossing news. So we're going to get the promise of a full Animal Crossing Direct at this. So that's what I'm predicting for January, and I guess let's go into February because I have some awesome things predicted for that Direct and how it's going to go down. So I believe the Animal Crossing Direct is going to happen on February 20th. Why then? Well, because it's a month away from the game. I think with 1 month to go, it'll be a good time to really let loose on some Animal Crossing news, and this is what I think they're going to do for this Direct. The opening is going to once again show us Dodo Airlines, but this time the focus is going to be on arriving on your island and kind of going through that process of going through Dodo Airlines and introducing that as the mode of transportation. From there, it's going to take us to our island, and the main focus here is going to be actually on growing our island. I believe there's some things that we still haven't really seen too much of. The first being the crafting bench. We do know that we're going to have a crafting bench inside of the resident services that we can use for free with Tom Nook, but we've also seen some other crafting benches around the game, and I think they're going to go more in depth with crafting outside of the resident services, and they're going to do that by showing us some new crafts and, showing us some decorating outside as well. The next thing I predict on this is that they're going to show off some shops. As I mentioned in January, they would be showing kind of like KK Slider, Rossetti, Isabel. I think those characters are great to show off because we don't really know what they're going to do, but we do have some more staple characters that run shops and everything. So I think this is going to be their opportunity to really talk about characters like the Able sisters, and then you've got Blathers and Celeste running the museum. So I feel like it's their chance to really show us how they're going to implement these shops into the game. Are they going to be traveling through boats and visiting our pier? Are they going to just show up in that main little plaza area in the center? And then later, will they have a full-fledged shop on our island? That's what I think they're going to be focused on. And then from there, there's one big thing that I feel we haven't seen yet, and I think that is expanding our town. Thus far, we do know that we're going to be able to have 8 players living on our island, and for those of you who have played Animal Crossing in the past, you know that once villagers start moving in and taking up space, there isn't a lot of space left to work with, and that's where I think this expansion is going to take place. If you have 8 players, if you've gotten a max amount of villagers, which we still don't know the number of, I think that we're going to get the option to expand our island and make it bigger and accommodate more shops, more villagers, and just kind of make more room for you as a player. So this, I feel, is going to be an optional thing, because thus far it seems like the game is really driven by your decisions. Like, shops are only going to show up if you decide to expand in certain areas, so I think there's going to be a lot of variety to the islands that we see based on how we play the game. My next prediction is that they're going to be focused on multiplayer as well. Back in the E3 presentation, we did get confirmation that they would talk about the multiplayer mode in this game, and they have 2 big things to talk about. For one, it will be living with 8 people on the same island and playing that 4-player mode on the same console, because this is the first time ever that we're going to be able to play with somebody on the same island who lives on the same island on that same screen. So it's very unique, it's a new way to look at it, and we don't have really much of an idea of how the mechanics work. For example, in the E3 presentation, we saw the characters were sharing items, but by the direct in September, we saw that the characters were carrying different items while playing together, so I'm not quite sure how they're going to be handling that aspect of the game. The next is, of course, the 8-player mode, and that I feel is going to be focused on showing kind of how we travel, how we use Dodo Airlines, and then kind of go in depth on what we'll be able to do in other towns. For example, they could showcase maybe some games that we could play with 8 players. One of the big things in New Leaf was the island, so I imagine we're going to have some sort of equivalent to that just to keep us further entertained outside of just, visiting somebody else's town. I think we're going to get some really cool variety with the games. I'd love to see games that are both cooperative and competitive. I think getting a mix of those is really fun for players, especially if we start seeing some 4 versus 4 games. I think those are fun, and it would be really great to get some friends together and just, do something different than your usual day-to-day in Animal Crossing. Finally, I think the last thing that they're going to cover in this direct is rather new. I think because this team has been working on games like Splatoon, there is going to be this new feature implemented, and it's going to be regular monthly updates for the next year. That's right, 12 months of updates that are going to introduce new things to the game. Specifically, I'm thinking new crafting sets. So we got very used to Splatoon getting updates pretty regularly, and they often included new clothing, new gear that you could wear. So I'd expect to see Animal Crossing to get that same kind of treatment, except this could be in the form of crafting recipes. Instead of just being given clothes and furniture, we'll be given new recipes that we'll have to work toward and, essentially give us more game to play each and every month. From here, we're gonna move into March, and March marks release day. I don't have any really huge, predictions for this month outside of we're just gonna be having a lot of fun playing Animal Crossing. It's gonna be a whole new experience, and we're all going to have essentially a good amount of time to play the game and really enjoy it. From there, I think April through October are going to, I guess, kind of go over those regular updates. I think they're not going to be handled really during directs unless they coincide with the direct, but we're going to instead get regular updates from Isabella on Twitter. And I guess for specifics, I think these updates, especially when we go through months with holidays and things, the updates are going to provide new items that are very holiday oriented. For one, I'm really hoping October provides us with plenty of really awesome pumpkin items. I'd love to put pumpkin patches throughout my town and kind of celebrate Halloween during that month. November is actually where I think we're going to get the next and last biggest piece of news for Animal Crossing. One thing that's going to be very confusing for us up until this point is how this game is going to connect to Pocket Camp. I don't think it's going to connect right at launch, but I do think they're going to have things planned for later in the year. And the reason I think November is because November tends to mark the anniversary for Pocket Camp. And each anniversary we've seen the game get updated in a major way. This last November, it turned into 3.0. They introduced some pretty big features, and I think next November is going to be no different. And as far as how this game is going to be connected, I think we're going to start sharing events. Things are going to cross over from the games, but I don't think they're going to require you to play both games to enjoy them. I think they're just going to try to cross-pollinate and get players interested in each game, and that's going to be the main focus here. Anyways, I think the events are going to be kind of similar to what Pocket Camp has going on right now. It's going to be like the limited time fishing events or gardening events, and it's going to be focused around completing these and unlocking, I guess, special crafting recipes and new horizons that will give you items that match those in Pocket Camp and vice versa. So I think Pocket Camp is also going to probably start reintroducing crafting items, because if you've played Pocket Camp as long as I have, you don't have much left to craft. Everything is pretty endgame right now, and I'm really missing that. I really want that feature to come back to that game. So I think both of those are going to cross over and just introduce a lot more things that we can craft come November. And yeah, like I said, it's happening in November because that is the major update for Pocket Camp. That's when they usually schedule them. Anyways, thank you all for listening to my predictions. I definitely feel these are more of a wish list for me, but I figured it would be fun to make my guess at how Animal Crossing would be treated throughout the next year. This is going to be an exciting year with a brand new game coming to us. Let us know your own predictions for the year in the comments, and if you haven't heard, Sergio and I are counting down the days to New Horizons with a 100-day countdown challenge. This challenge was created by Grizzly Nina, Island Grizzly, or as I just call her, my friend Nina. Anyways, you can find the details on this countdown throughout my social media accounts, Patreon, Discord, and here on YouTube in the community tab. It's a fun way to count down the days to this game. Be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.